Rain hammered the cracked pavement as the courier darted through the dim city alley. His breath was ragged, heart pounding with every step he took. The bag in his hand felt unusually heavy. He hadn't expected it to contain so much. A sudden flash of lightning illuminated the drenched streets, revealing a shadowy figure watching him from a distance. "I shouldn't have taken this," he muttered, voice barely audible over the storm. Every instinct screamed at him to run, but the money felt like a burden and a lifeline at once. He ducked into a narrow doorway, pressing the bag close to his chest. His mind raced, piecing together whispers he'd overheard, rumors about a vanished heir and a fortune hidden away. Could this be it? The weight of his discovery was both thrilling and terrifying. Somewhere deep inside, he knew this bag might change everything, yet danger lurked with every heartbeat. Thunder rolled overhead as the city's shadows seemed to close in, making him question if he was being hunted or saved. After escaping the alley, the courier ducked into a cramped cafe, its warm hazy glow a stark contrast to the storm outside. He set the bag down on a rickety table, wiping his dripping hair back with a shaky hand. The few patrons glanced his way, curious about his soaked state and the heavy bundle he guarded. A woman behind the counter caught his eye and nodded once, offering a silent welcome. He forced a tired smile, but his mind spun. The whispers of a missing heir and a fortune began to feel painfully real. Was he about to cross paths with something much bigger than a simple delivery job? He glanced at the bag again, the weight of the unknown pressing hard. He needed to decide quickly, keep the secret or find help. But trust was a currency as rare as this fortune. Outside, the storm showed no sign of easing. The courier's phone buzzed sharply, breaking the tense silence. A message appeared, an anonymous tip hinting that the bag belonged to a vanished heir whose fortune was stolen years ago. His pulse quickened. The message warned him that powerful forces were hunting for the money. Every breath felt heavier, every shadow more menacing. He glanced toward the door, fearing someone might burst in. Could he trust this message? The mystery deepened, blending fear with fragile hope. Somewhere in the city, a secret waited to be uncovered, but it came with a dangerous price. He realized his life was no longer just about survival. It was about navigating a web of lies and lost legacies. Suddenly, the cafe door creaked open. The courier's gaze snapped up to see a sharply dressed man enter, his eyes scanning the room with calculated precision. He moved with quiet confidence, a subtle threat in his demeanor. The courier's grip tightened on the bag. This man could be friend or enemy. The atmosphere thickened as their eyes locked across the room. Time seemed to slow. The courier weighed his options: confront, flee, or hide. The fortune, the missing heir, the danger, they all converged in this moment of silent challenge. Somewhere inside he knew this encounter would change everything. The rain outside softened, but the storm inside him raged on. The courier rose slowly, tension coiling in his muscles. The man approached, voice low but firm. "I'm here for what you carry," he said. No hesitation, no small talk. The courier's mind raced. Did he hand over the bag or run? His decision could mean freedom or disaster. The weight of the unknown heir's legacy pressed on him like the storm outside, relentless and unforgiving. The cafe's warm glow flickered as uncertainty hung thick between them. He took a breath, ready to face whatever came next. In that moment, the courier wasn't just a messenger. He was a key player in a hidden game with stakes higher than he ever imagined. The courier fled the cafe, heart hammering as the man in the suit's words echoed in his mind. The city stretched ahead like a maze of shadows and flickering streetlights. He dodged into a narrow passage between brick buildings, the bag heavy in his grip. His mind raced, piecing together the implications of the fortune, how it tied to a missing heir and a legacy buried beneath decades of silence. He knew the man wasn't the only one searching. Every echo in the alley whispered of danger. He paused to catch his breath, listening for footsteps, but all he heard was the distant hum of traffic and the rustling of trash. The night was no longer just dark. It was a labyrinth of threats and secrets, and he was caught in its heart. The courier ducked into an abandoned warehouse, the hollow echo of his footsteps bouncing off rusted metal beams. Moonlight spilled through broken windows, casting eerie patterns across the cracked concrete floor. He set the bag down, his chest heaving as he scanned the darkness. This place was a hideout, but it felt more like a trap. He needed answers. Fast. Pulling out a crumpled newspaper clipping, he traced the faded headline about the vanished heir and a fortune stolen under mysterious circumstances. It was all connected. His discovery wasn't just a coincidence, it was a message. Somewhere in the shadows, someone was watching, waiting for him to make the next move. Suddenly, footsteps echoed down the warehouse metal catwalks. The courier stiffened, eyes narrowing as a figure emerged from the shadows. A woman, sharply dressed but with a wary edge, stepped forward. Her gaze held a strange mixture of sympathy and calculation. She spoke softly. "You're carrying more than you realize. That bag belongs to the last living heir of a fortune stolen years ago, and many want it back, by any means necessary." His grip on the bag tightened. Trust was a luxury he couldn't afford, but her words confirmed his fears. Together they might have a chance, but every alliance came with risk. The game was changing. The woman revealed her name, Marara, and her connection to the missing heir. She explained the fortune had been hidden to protect it from those who sought to claim it by force. They couldn't trust the suited man or others, lurking in the city's shadows. Together, they planned a dangerous route to a safe house where the truth awaited. Time was running out. Enemies closed in with every step. The courier's resolve hardened. He wasn't just a messenger anymore. He was a guardian of a secret that could topple empires. The rain began again outside, cold and relentless, mirroring the storm they were stepping into. "I'm Mr. Shoe." They slipped out into the rain-soaked streets, shadows cloaking their movements. Every glance over the shoulder revealed pursuers gaining ground. The courier felt the weight of the bag like a pulse, a constant reminder of what was at stake. Mara's voice was steady, guiding him through the maze of alleys and side streets. The city's neon signs blurred past as they moved fast, hearts pounding in sync with distant sirens. Ahead lay the safe house, a beacon in the night, but the path was perilous. The courier realized that from now on, every step was a gamble in a deadly game with no room for error. The fortune wasn't just money, it was a key to a hidden past, and survival meant holding on tight. At the safe house doorstep, the courier and Mara hesitated, knowing the danger wasn't behind them but still looming ahead. The door creaked open, revealing a dimly lit room cluttered with relics of a hidden past. Inside waited an older man, calm, composed, but with eyes heavy with secrets. He was the missing heir's closest confidant, protector of the fortune's truth. The courier laid the bag down, feeling a sudden weight lift. Yet the man's voice was grave. "They found us. The past we bury fights to stay hidden." The room felt smaller, shadows tightening as plans unfolded for the final confrontation. Trust would be tested, loyalties questioned, and survival depended on courage and cunning. The older man unfurled a faded blueprint of the city, tracing paths hidden from most eyes. He spoke of secret tunnels, old alliances, and the betrayal that erased the heir from public memory. Mara listened intently, exchanging quick glances with the courier. Their journey was no longer just about survival, it was about reclaiming a stolen legacy. Plans were drawn, roles assigned with precision. Outside, distant sirens wailed, signaling the encroaching storm of adversaries. The courier's heart pounded in sync with the ticking clock. Every step from now on would decide not just their fate, but the truth's survival against overwhelming odds. Night thickened as they prepared to move, every noise outside magnified in the silence. The courier checked the bag's secure straps, Mara armed herself with quiet resolve, and the older man packed documents revealing truths long buried. Outside, heavy footsteps approached. The courier's pulse raced as the door crashed open. The suited man appeared with shadowed figures behind him, faces unreadable but intent clear. A standoff ignited in the cramped room, words sharp as knives. Betrayal, greed, and hope collided in electric tension. The courier realized the fight was inevitable. The bag wasn't just a key, it was the spark igniting a battle for justice. Chaos erupted. The courier dodged a sweeping blow, Mara darted forward with precision, and the older man shielded the blueprint. Dust swirled in the dim light as objects crashed and voices roared. Every move was survival, every second a gamble. Amid the turmoil, the courier found a moment to slip away, clutching the bag tightly. His mind flashed with memories of everything that led to this moment, the weight of history, the promise of truth. The city outside awaited, cold and unyielding, but the courier was no longer just a pawn. He was a force, determined to rewrite a stolen fate, no matter the cost. The courier burst into the rain-soaked streets, breath visible in the cold air, heart pounding like thunder. Behind him, the safe house faded into shadows, a war of secrets raging inside. Mara's voice crackled over a hidden radio. Meet at the old pier. Trust no one else. The city was a labyrinth, but hope flickered in the courier's grasp. The fortune was more than wealth. It was truth waiting to break free. As neon lights shimmered on puddles, the courier ran toward the unknown, ready to face whatever awaited. The final chapter was unwritten, but his resolve burned fierce. Justice would not be denied. The old pier stretched endlessly into the fog-shrouded night, each creaking plank echoing the courier's racing heartbeat. He scanned the horizon, rain slicking his jacket, clutching the worn leather bag tightly. Mara's voice whispered through the radio again, urgent but calm. Stay alert. They're closing in faster than we thought. Shadows danced beneath the flickering lamps. Every step forward felt like walking deeper into a trap. Yet, beneath the tension, a fragile hope glimmered. Tonight would decide everything. The courier braced himself for the final reckoning, where truth and danger converged under the moon's cold gaze. A sudden splash broke the silence as Mara emerged from the shadows, eyes sharp and wary. Her silhouette was outlined by the distant orange glow of a lone lantern. They exchanged no words. There was no time. The courier passed her the bag swiftly. Their plan was fragile, built on trust and speed. The air thrummed with anticipation as footsteps echoed behind them. Their pursuers closed the distance with relentless precision. Every breath counted. Every second was a thread pulling taut. The city's secrets were buried beneath layers of fear and silence, but tonight those layers would crumble. Mara disappeared into the mist, clutching the bag like a lifeline. The courier retreated into the darkness, drawing pursuers away. The night sky threatened rain as footsteps closed in, voices hushed but threatening. The city's underground tunnels beckoned, a labyrinth of forgotten passages and shadows. Every corner held the weight of history and danger. The courier's mind raced with strategies as echoes bounced off cold stone. He knew this path was a gamble, but the only way forward. The stolen legacy demanded a final sacrifice. The city's pulse quickened with the promise of revelation or ruin. The tunnel walls closed in, whispers of old secrets clinging to the damp stones. The courier moved with measured steps, senses heightened. Behind him, the faint glow of lanterns revealed pursuers relentless and closing fast. Each breath was visible in the frigid air, each heartbeat a drum of impending confrontation. The bag's contents were more than evidence. They were a beacon of truth the city had tried to bury. Ahead, a faint light flickered. Hope or a trap, the courier couldn't tell. With no turning back, he pressed forward, ready to face the shadows that awaited. At the tunnel's end, a hidden chamber opened into dim candlelight, revealing Mara and the older man waiting. Their faces were etched with fatigue and determination. The courier stepped forward, relief washing over him like a tide. But the moment was fragile, enemies were close, and the final battle loomed. Together, they laid out the documents and secrets, ready to expose the truth that could change everything. The fortune was not just money, but justice long denied. In that flickering glow, a promise was made. Whatever came next, they would stand unbroken. Dawn's first light crept through the cracked windows of the chamber, casting long shadows across the weathered table. The courier, Mara, and the older man leaned in, eyes heavy but determined. The documents lay spread before them, secrets finally revealed. Outside, distant sirens wailed, a reminder that time was short. The city awaited justice, but betrayal still lurked in the corners. The courier's heart pounded with urgency, knowing the final move would shape everything. Every whisper of wind carried the promise of change or collapse. The courier's voice broke the silence, outlining the plan to broadcast the truth. Mara nodded, her expression steely, while the older man checked a small radio transmitter. The weight of years lifted slightly as hope surged. Outside, rain began to fall, tapping a steady rhythm on the broken glass above. The city's skyline blurred through mist and drizzle, a silent witness to the unfolding reckoning. The courier glanced at Mara. "It's time." The words felt like a challenge and a prayer. Together, they stepped into the storm. Emerging from the shadows, the courier and Mara raced up the narrow staircase, rain pelting their faces. The city was waking, unaware of the storm about to break. Lightning flashed, illuminating crumbling rooftops and twisted alleys. Voices called in the distance, but the urgency propelled them forward. The stolen legacy was now a beacon, a call to action. Every step felt heavier with history's weight. They reached the rooftop transmitter, rain turning their clothes to soaked fabric, clinging cold to skin. The moment to change everything was at hand. Atop the transmitter, the courier adjusted the controls as Mara scanned the awakening city below. The radio crackled to life, the broadcast beginning, an unfiltered truth pulsing through the static. Nearby, dark figures stirred, shadows responding to the signal's call. The courier's hands trembled slightly, but never faltered. Every secret unleashed felt like a battle won. The city held its breath, caught between silence and revelation. The first words carried across rooftops, through alleys, breaking decades of silence, shaking foundations of power. As the broadcast echoed into the city's veins, distant sirens grew louder. The courier, Mara, and the older man reunited beneath the tower, rain washing away exhaustion and fear. The legacy was no longer hidden, truth had found its voice. They stood silent for a moment, watching the city pulse with new life. The road ahead was uncertain, but the burden of silence was lifted. A fragile dawn broke, promising rebirth and reckoning alike. Together, they faced the future, scarred, resilient, and unbroken. The city stirred anew beneath a pale morning sky, the aftermath of revelation heavy in the air. Streets once silent buzzed with whispers and hurried footsteps. The courier and Mara moved carefully through the crowd, faces hardened, but eyes hopeful. Every corner held stories of change and resistance, painted in graffiti and shouted slogans. Old powers scrambled, uncertain and exposed. The world they'd shaken was waking, fragile but alive. Despite the weight of what had come before, a fragile optimism pushed them forward. This was only the beginning. In a cramped cafe bathed in soft golden light, Mara sat across from the courier, their conversation low but intense. Plans unfolded quietly amid steaming cups and chipped porcelain. The weight of responsibility settled on their shoulders, yet neither faltered. Outside, rain began again, gentle, steady, a cleansing rhythm on the tin roof above. The courier's voice carried conviction, promising that truth would ripple beyond these walls, sparking fires of justice far and wide. Mara nodded, resolve hardening in her gaze. The courier walked along the riverbank under a steel-gray sky, water swirling swiftly beneath the bridge. Thoughts churned like the currents, mixing hope with doubt. The city's scars were visible in the crumbling facades lining the shore. Yet the courier's stride was steady, unyielding. Somewhere beyond the horizon, a new chapter awaited, one where voices silenced for decades could finally roar. The rain began to fall heavier, each drop a reminder of cleansing and renewal, washing away the past's darkest shadows. Night cloaked the city in shadows, but inside a hidden room, Mara worked by flickering candlelight, piecing together messages and maps. Her fingers moved swiftly, tracing roots and connections like threads in a tapestry. The quiet crackle of burning wax mingled with her steady breath. Outside, distant thunder rumbled, a storm gathering not just in the sky but in the hearts of those who dared to fight. The future was uncertain, but her determination burned bright, a beacon in the encroaching darkness. At dawn, the Courier and Mara stood atop the city's highest hill, overlooking the sprawling urban maze below. The sky bled hues of pink and gold, promising a new day. They exchanged no words, only shared a glance heavy with everything they had endured. The city beneath them was alive with possibility and peril, but they were ready. Whatever storms awaited, they would face them together. With quiet strength they stepped forward toward the horizon and the uncertain light of tomorrow. The evening air felt colder than expected as the Courier and Mara stood before the factory gates, their breaths visible in the chilly dusk. Time seemed to slow, every sound amplified. The distant hum of the city fading behind them. Mara's eyes searched the horizon, where the last slivers of sunlight bled into twilight, casting long shadows over the cracked concrete. The Courier adjusted the strap of his worn backpack, the weight of their mission settling deeper into his bones. "This is it," Mara whispered, her voice steady but laced with something fragile. Hope or fear, he couldn't tell. Together, they pushed open the heavy iron door, its screech slicing through the silence. Inside, the air was thick with dust and forgotten memories. They moved cautiously, the factory's vast empty spaces swallowing their footsteps. Machinery lay dormant, rusted and silent, relics of a time long gone. The fading light cast eerie shapes on the walls, dancing with the rhythm of their heartbeat. The Courier's mind raced with every possible outcome, yet his resolve never wavered. Mara's presence was a constant anchor amid the uncertainty. Each step they took was a silent vow, to uncover truth, no matter the cost. Inside, the factory felt like a tomb, still, cold, and laden with history. Dust swirled in the fading shafts of light, motes suspended like ghosts. Mara's fingers traced the edges of a rusted beam, as if drawing strength from the tangible remnants of the past. The Courier's eyes darted, alert for any sign of movement. Every creak and groan seemed amplified in the heavy silence, a reminder that this place held secrets, danger hidden in its shadows. They whispered strategies between themselves, voices hushed but urgent. Mara spoke of the files rumored to be here, proof of the corruption that had shaped their world. The Courier clenched his fists, a silent promise to see this through. The atmosphere thickened, charged with anticipation. Somewhere deep in the shadows, something stirred, a sound too faint to be certain, yet impossible to ignore. They shared a glance, a brief moment of understanding. Retreat was no longer an option. They pressed on, moving deeper into the belly of the beast, where answers awaited like fragile sparks in the darkness. A sudden noise shattered the fragile calm, a metallic clatter reverberating through the cavernous space. The Courier froze, every muscle tensed as instincts took over. Mara's hand found his arm, steadying, grounding him. Their eyes met, and in that instant, a silent communication passed between them. Trust, caution, resolve. Shadows shifted unnaturally along the cracked walls, shapes morphing and retreating with the flicker of distant light. The weight of unseen watchers pressed down on them, invisible yet palpable. The Courier took a careful breath, muscles coiling like a spring. Mara's steady presence beside him was the only certainty in the encroaching unknown. They moved forward, slow and deliberate, every step a negotiation with fate. The past and present collided in this moment, truth and danger intertwined. Neither dared to break the silence, knowing that sound could mean exposure, could mean the end. Yet in the darkness, a stubborn hope flickered, driving them onward. They reached the heart of the factory, a vast chamber echoing with forgotten voices. Old machinery, hulking and silent, loomed like sentinels guarding secrets long buried. The single bare bulb above flickered intermittently, casting trembling pools of yellow light. Mara stepped cautiously toward a cluttered table, where a stack of dusty files and humming devices awaited. Her fingers hovered momentarily before touching the documents, as if afraid to disturb the fragile weight of truth. The courier remained vigilant at the entrance, his eyes scanning for any sign of danger. Here, in this shadowed sanctuary, the threads of history wove together, the corruption, the lies, the lives altered. The moment hung heavy, a fragile balance between revelation and risk. Mara's voice broke the silence, soft but resolute, as she spoke of the consequences of what they now held in their hands. The courier nodded, understanding the gravity. This was more than a mission. It was a turning point, the dawn of justice shadowed by sacrifice. With the files secured, the factory seemed to exhale, releasing decades of silence and neglect. Outside, the first light of dawn pierced the horizon, a soft promise of new beginnings. The courier and Mara stood side by side, silhouetted by the gentle glow filtering through broken windows. Their expressions were a blend of exhaustion, relief, and determination. Words felt unnecessary. Their shared glance spoke volumes. They knew the road ahead would be fraught with challenges, but the truth they now carried was a beacon, fragile yet unyielding. The weight of what they uncovered was heavy, but it also fueled their resolve. As the city slowly awoke, the factory behind them stood as a monument to both decay and hope. Together, they stepped into the light, ready to face whatever came next. Their journey was far from over, but this moment marked a new chapter, a testament to courage, to truth, and to the unbreakable bonds forged in darkness.